Hello and welcome to Spear Tip Shop Talk. I hope all of you are having a great conference and are really enjoying all of the great speakers and presenters that we have available to us here. We're really lucky here for Spear Tip to sponsor this Shop Talk, and even luckier to have two great attendees and two great people be able to really jump in and show more of how the breach coach and cyber relationship is important and how that can be even better. So I'm going to give it off to Thomas Moran and Billy Ekis to introduce themselves.
Yeah, sure. So I am a cybersecurity and data privacy attorney for Lewis Brisbois. I am in the Cleveland office of Lewis Brisbois. We have about 40 attorneys in our practice group that are committed solely to data privacy and cybersecurity. Right now, about 80%, or closer to 90% actually, of my practice is dedicated to incident response, which means that I'm fortunate enough to work with forensics firms such as Spear Tip all the time and navigate the complex forensics and legal dynamics of incident response. And I'm really happy to be here today.
Yeah, my name's Willie Meekus. I'm one of the senior security engineers here at Spear Tip. My primary role in the whole incident response framework is really leading and guiding that incident response and forensic engagement to provide you with really all the answers. I'm looking for the how, the what, the when, the where, the why, and be able to relay all that not only to the client that was affected, but also to the breach coach that's involved. Providing them with data in relation to if confidential data was touched, if was seeing evidence of exfiltration or anything along those lines. But that's really my key role in this whole incident response type practice, is leading that engagement and performing the investigation and providing those answers that are critical to making sure the client is protected and informed of everything that happened.
And I'm glad you mentioned breach coach, Billy. I think it's important to define, and I'll let Thomas define breach coach, but define what is a breach coach in your own words and what is a cybersecurity expert, because I think it's thrown around in a lot of different ways. But Thomas, if you want to go ahead and get us kicked off and kind of define what is a breach coach in your own words.
I guess to put it simplistically, it's in a way it's being a quarterback. It's making sure that all parties are communicating, because when you are in an incident response, whether we like it or not, we're all in the same boat, and we have to function as a team in order to respond effectively. It also just pragmatically provides the cover of privilege to the entire forensics investigation, which is very important. So attorney-client privilege will cover all communications as well as the investigation, which can shield the client from liability down the road, and is obviously allows us to be more transparent in the investigation and in our communications. And then finally, it provides stability. The role of a breach coach is to make sure that every person is moving to this, or dancing to the same beat, I guess you could say, and make sure that everyone's calm and everyone is making sure that they're doing their part to get the client up and running as soon as possible.
Absolutely. And Billy, what is a cybersecurity incident response firm, and how is that different than an IT firm or something of that nature?
Sure, absolutely. So the cyber, forensics firm is really geared at finding the answers of what happened, right? Giving you, well, how did they get into the environment? What vulnerability let them in? How do we remediate that? How do we fix that and get that client back up and running, as well as preserving all the evidence, right? The whole key point of doing these forensic investigation is, to tell you what happened, how it happened, and provide all those answers back. And one, collecting that forensics evidence in a secure manner that keeps the integrity of that evidence in check is extremely important. But you also have to take into the account the cybersecurity firm also gets that client help back up and running, giving them the protection they need to not be down as long as they would think. But those key elements is really what that cybersecurity firm does.
Moving along a little bit here, one constant in cybersecurity is change, and we hear that all the time. We definitely want to touch on that with both of your experience here today. How do law firms and forensic firms keep up with that? I mean, you mentioned exfiltration of data. The last quarter and a half, the exfiltration of data has skyrocketed, and the likelihood of these different actors having exfiltrated data continues to rise, and seems to be more and more common of that data being posted, not just taken, but also posted somewhere. How do law firms keep up, Thomas?
We have an ethical obligation to our clients to make sure that we stay up to date, especially with legal responsibilities. We have a bit of deference that we can give to forensics firms in terms of trends of variants and ransomware actors and what have you. But legally, it's up to us to make sure we stay up to date. For instance, today, the FBI noted that companies that pay ransomware to sanctioned entities essentially can be on the hook for a fine, which, if we're not informed of and we allow our client to go forward with a ransomware payment, they can have a substantial fine on the back end. Moreover, we have 50 different laws in each of the 50 states, and they're constantly changing. So if something as simple as a word, if the term accessed or acquired, if accessed is added to the definition of a breach, and it had previously just been acquired, that can change our entire breach risk analysis. And that goes back to having a forensics partner that tells us things may have been accessed, but there's not evidence of it leaving the environment. So it's imperative that we stay up to date in this very, very complex legal world in the United States right now in terms of breach response. And then moreover, while we do have that level of deference to groups like SpearTip regarding forensics trends, we also have to make sure that we know what each variant is, what their reputation is, and what their modus operandi is in each sort of situation.
Great. So really great questions. I'm going to ask you to hand me that there. So I hope most people on the Shop Talk were able to receive our Spear Beer invitational box that was sent out. If not, we're going to post up at this time you should be seeing an email that has info@speartip.com. If for whatever reason you did not receive this, make sure it's not at your office first, but if you did not receive it, make sure to reach out to the email and let us know your name and your address, and we'll make sure to get one out to you. But I think as we continue to have virtual conferences, we have to ask ourselves, how do we continue to make this more enjoyable and continue to really do things a little bit differently. And so we did have our own Spear Beer made, as well as in the box. I'll hand that to you. In the box also our Spear Tip glasses as well. So want to very quickly do a quick toast just to a great rest of the conference. And try not to pour that over there. And appreciate everyone that was able to come today and listen. Obviously, if there's any questions, feel free to reach out on info@SpearTip as well. And like I said, we definitely want to get a box out to everyone if for whatever reason they did not get one, as just another way to make virtual conferences more fun. So thanks everyone, and have a great rest of the conference.